Hello and welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us again. Super excited for this episode today. And as usual, here with me again is Mr. Sandy McKay. How's it going, Sandy?
Rob, doing great. Excited for this one. This is an interesting topic today. I'm really looking forward to it.
What's new with you?
What's new with me? Great question. Not that much this time. Not that much. We've shared a lot. The last couple episodes, we've shared a lot about ourselves. So nothing much new. Nothing much new. Getting ready for some summer stuff.
I'm gonna send Sandy like a note before the show to say, "Hey, prep like one thing you can say what's going on." But,
So some exciting things here. I'll give you one thing. We haven't done this. I know you do these. We haven't done property tours of any kind for like since pre-COVID. So we're getting back into some of that this summer, which you and I might collaborate around even. And so with our Vaughan Investors Club, we're gonna do a couple of those over the course of summer. So by the time this airs, I think if anyone is interested in that, they can certainly reach out or check out vaughninvestorsclub.com and we can get them linked up. And we're going to do some tours east and west of the GTA. So some fun stuff to come in July and August.
Yeah, and we're doing property tours in Peterborough probably once a month, I'd say. We were going to try for about every 3 weeks, but I think once a month is what we'll end up doing. We've done a couple already. And they've went well. So, you'll see when you sign up at breakthroughreipodcast.ca and get our free gift, you'll be able to get on our mailing list and get updated with all this stuff. Right, Sandy?
That's it. You'll get the ultimate strategy for building wealth through real estate. And of course, never miss out on any of that stuff that we got going on. And including the Costa Rica tours, even when you do those. At least you've done
I did do one. We had, what was it? 13 investors from Durham REI come out, and that was amazing. I think we'll probably try and do another one in November, but still up in the air right now, and I'll keep you posted, obviously. As well, everybody knows, go over to iTunes, and if you haven't done it, please leave us a rating and review. It helps this show get into the ears of more people who want to hear stuff like what we're doing. So please go over and do that if you haven't. And I know that maybe this sounds like you're just so used to hearing me say this, but I know there's people that have been listening to this show for quite some time that still haven't went over and done that. And I think that, don't just take this as something you hear me saying every time. Go over, leave us a rating and review. Let us know what you think. Let us know what kind of guests you want to hear, what kind of topics we should cover. Sandy and I, they're going to be out soon. Well, probably at the time that people hear this, they'll be out, but you and I just did 2 episodes on our biggest challenges that we've had over the years. That was fun.
Yeah, there was lots of good stuff in there. We're long overdue for that, I think. We did a bunch of those. We've been going for almost 10 years here, right? So there's a bunch of those at the start, and then we kind of fizzled off on sharing a lot of our own stories. So hopefully, for those of you listening to this, you would have probably listened to those already. If you haven't, go back and check them out because they're the most recent ones back to back. A couple hours worth of good personal shares there, mostly losses, actually, mostly challenges. Well, challenges that we turned into wins. Let's call it that. Not
Definitely.
Really losses, learning lessons.
Anyway, I think that's it. We should get to our guest. I'm really excited.
Let's do it. We've got Tamara Hirsh standing by here. Welcome to the show, Tamara.
Thank you, Sandy. Pleasure to be here.
Welcome.
Yes. Hi, Rob.
And super excited to have you on here because we're talking about some really interesting stuff today. Tamara has had a successful 20 plus years designing and building executive vacation homes. She's done work all across the what do we call that? Lower mainland, or Whistler, at least, British Columbia. And also in areas across Canada, really. British Columbia, Whistler, Muskoka. She was leading the way of the major rebrand and restructuring of Hirsh Log Homes, which is still active, I believe. Still active across Muskoka?
It sure is. Yeah.
Still active across Muskoka. Multi-million-dollar award-winning log and timber frame homes in Muskoka. I should say that. And 8 years ago, had a chance encounter with a reef fish. Sounds like an interesting story. And Tamara contracted a neurotoxin disease. So like many other Canadians, using conventional opioid for pharmaceuticals for chronic pain, she was introduced to cannabis, which became the catalyst for radical career evolution. So through all that, found out some cool opportunities and started developing. Let me read this properly. Found medical value and evolved her business. Sorry, her design, build skills in developing award-winning medical clinics and a chain of successful boutique retail stores.
Correct. Yeah, it's called
Today-
Pacifico Life. Yeah.
And today, Tamara has settled on the shores of Gold Coast of Guanacaste, Costa Rica, Rob's neighbor, and her current real estate projects involve multi-unit commercial development and renovation of restaurant, lounge, and upscale boutique hotels. So super interesting stuff there. I think
There's a lot to get to. I don't know how much we can cram in the time that we have, but we're going to try. So again, welcome. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
I mean,
Yeah,
there's
it's
so
pretty
much.
diverse.
There's so much that we have to go through, and I don't know. For those of you watching, you can see that this isn't my place. I'm having some work done on my house, and Tamara lives across the road from me in Costa Rica. So I came in and I hijacked her living room, and now she's been, abolished to the outdoors so that we could do the show here together today. So I really want to thank you for that.
I'm totally happy to be outside and get me away from my desk. Thank you.
We
Where should we
want to
begin?
Yeah, we want to start the way that we always do, really, is just get a little background, right? Understand how you got interested in real estate in the first place, and sort of your path on how you started out.
Okay. Finishing college, I went to school for advertising and marketing, and went to Whistler after school to learn how to snowboard, really. Got a pretty cool advertising job at the Whistler Question, which is their newspaper there. So I was feeling pretty happy, but like the cost of living was super high for what I was getting paid. I was volunteering at the ski hills to get a lift pass. So on my day off, I was working anyways. Really didn't have as much time to snowboard as I wanted to. Actually, I'm working 3 jobs at once. It was insane. And like just paying so much in rent. And then it just became, quite obvious that that's a mortgage payment. And loved Whistler, decided it wasn't going to be a short stop. It was going to be, home for a bit, and definitely a good investment. And so found the cheapest house in the lowest segment price range in all of Whistler for a single family home. Went and saw this log cabin, and it was absolutely decrepit. However, it was charming. It had everything you would want in an alpine home. It was cozy and warm and protective feeling. And so put in an offer right away. And it had just had an offer earlier that day that was accepted. So we were crushed. It was pretty hard to find anything else in that price range that would pull on your heartstrings. So then the idea was, well, why don't we find a piece of land, cheapest piece of land we could find, and hire a contractor to build us a log cabin. And did exactly that. Found a beautiful little slope side. It was actually ski out, not advertised as such, but you could sort of bushwhack a trail down into the backyard, which was on the side of Whistler Mountain, and in a little street called Brio. And the contractor we hired, to make a long story short, ended up being a shyster, and we lost a ton of money and didn't really know what to do. The lead carpenter on the project was local. The contractor was not. And he said, look at what you guys are doing for work, and you're making next to nothing. My ex at the time was teaching snowboarding to what later became junior Olympians, but and I was working at a newspaper making minimum wage and paying this carpenter, basically double what either of us are making. So he's like, why don't you guys quit your jobs and, put on a tool belt, and we'll finish this together. We'll do this. And so we did. And that was the beginning of everything. I started boots on the ground with a hammer in my hands, learned basically everything there is to do except for, the licensed parts, like electrical. I would only do the finishing fixtures, and heating and ventilation, didn't touch any of that. What else? Drywall, that was one thing we gave away, although I have done drywall since. But every single thing on that house and subsequent houses, my hands were a part of. So that's how I got started in real estate. And even still, that investment was, it still went well. I think it took, oh my God, almost 2 years, and it went over budget still. However, we learned so much. And with that, we decided to go and do it again, put the house up for sale, buy a piece of land, and build from scratch. And it was just the two of us the next time. And so we had hardly any overhead. We really were getting to understand materials and where to resource them and how to, quote things in bulk and, nickel and dime everything basically, and built a house in Pemberton. And it was a great success. And then from there, just kind of kept snowballing it into many years in Whistler and Pemberton, and then 12 years in Muskoka.
I like how we just let her breeze over that the contractor said, quit your job. And so they did. So yeah. There's got to be a little more consideration to it than that. Like, let's talk about, it's very interesting. And I mean, of course, you guys were at the beginning of your careers, so probably a little bit easier to say, hey, I'm sure I can get a minimum wage at a job at a paper somewhere if I need to go back. But how does that process look to you guys? Did you both quit your jobs?
He did first. Yeah. There's sorry, just inhaled some water. He was doing snowboarding, so there was an off season, of course. Whistler was really, this is going back to 1994, 95. Whistler didn't have 3 seasons or 4 seasons like it does now. So it made sense for him to quit his. He started and was loving it, really loving it. I was feeling a little under challenged where I was. And yeah, it made sense. It really did. Like hiring anybody in a trade position, they made, at least twice as much, if not more, than what I was making.
So you built this into a business, right? Like you took it, you built the first house, you learned from it, you built the second house without the carpenter.
Exactly. And then the third and fourth, where we started subcontracting parts out and slowly removing ourselves from being on site. But that was many years in the process. I stayed on site until, oh God, I don't know, like probably the 10th house. I don't know.
Okay, that's what I was just going to say. And how many are we talking about? And these are all in Whistler, 10 houses?
No, Whistler was only, we probably did 4 or 5 in Whistler, and then moving to Muskoka. And in Whistler, there were renovations too. And then Muskoka, I honestly don't know how many, maybe 10, 15. And they're large homes, really large homes. Like one of them took almost 2 years to build. And it's probably worth, oh God, I don't know, like 12 million now. It's insane. Yeah, not little cabins anymore.
These are hockey players buying them, most likely.
Yeah, we didn't have any hockey players as our clients, but they're definitely kind of the famous people up there with, Goldie Hawn and a few others.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, talk about some challenges, because we like to hear, obviously that sounds so smooth. It just sounds great. Like everyone should do that.
Oh God.
Right?
You know what? You really see what you're made of. You got to have a lot of grit to do that, because challenges are every single day in construction. It's really a matter of problem solving, and you just have to look at it like that and expect that nothing is going to go exactly as planned. And there's always going to be discovery and a change and I don't know, something. So yeah, I mean, what are the biggest challenges? Reliable help. That's going to be, and that's here in Costa Rica too. It's got to be you're only as strong as your weakest link. And so finding people that didn't just fall into construction, but actually chose to get into construction and have pride in what they do. That's tough. And then having, that reliability and that commitment, it took many years that we had to become vertically integrated, like literally everything under the sun we controlled. The only things that we would, sub out were, we even got into cabinet making in the end too. Like everything was custom. It just ended up being that way because we could control it. And we had good guys, and we were investing in them, and they were learning with us. So we kind of grew the team together. And that's kind of the biggest challenge I have here. I'm on my 5th construction crew right now. And this project is, right now, we're in 6 months. And I got to say this, the latest group we have in, they're amazing. But like if I were to give you a tour, you'd be like, what happened in 6 months? How could you go through 5 crews and accomplish so little?
We are going to get into that, but I don't want to jump to it right yet.
Yeah. Okay.
I do want to, yeah.
So challenges, your team. That's your biggest challenge. You've got to have a good team, like anything.
So basically,
my cat's just haunting you right now.
It looks like my cat. Is it a Bengal?
It is. You have a Bengal as well.
I do,
awesome.
She sometimes shows up here during these if I'm recording from home, which I am today. But anyways, nobody wants to learn about our cats, I don't think.
Okay.
Maybe they do. I don't know. We have Bengal cats. Bengals are kind of cool.
Oh, they're like a dog and a cat.
This one, I watched this one. This one swims in their pool.
Yeah, they like water.
That's unique. They do like water, yeah.
Yeah.
I have a funny story about that. I'm not gonna. It's not the best. Okay, well, my cat fell in the pool yesterday. I'll just do a quick story on that. First time she's ever been in like water. We just opened our pool for the first time, like ever. We never had a pool here, and she was like, "What is this?" And she fell in.
A new playground.
Yeah, it was interesting.
They're curious. Yeah.
So didn't like it. Wasn't drawn to it.
Well, she's liked water in the past, like running water, but like
not being submerged in the water.
Yeah, that was the new thing for her. That was a new thing.
Well, a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
I've tried the same with mine. I'll carry them out, and as soon as I get anywhere close, it's just like claws. And I was like, I want my cats to swim too.
The Bengals are good for that. They're like dogs.
Oh, we take him out on the boat. He loves it. He's right on the bow, just like mesmerized, just looking in the water at things, just hoping he doesn't jump off. Yeah.
Okay. So you're still running this business from here, and we're going to talk about why you decided to move to Costa Rica, all that kind of stuff in a minute. But you're still running your building business in Canada.
Well, I'm still building, but the Hirsh Log Home business is still Muskoka. My ex is running that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So started in Whistler, moved to Muskoka, and there it remains.
And those homes you're building for clients, right? Or was it some of them for yourself in between too?
There was some, yeah. Definitely built. I'm gonna say I lived in only 3 houses of all the houses we built. Probably should have maybe monopolized on that principal residence tax-free sales a little more, but didn't really. No. What's the
if someone's hearing a bit of your story here and going like that's what my dream would be to do, but like log homes is a very cool kind of fun sounding thing to do, especially you say luxury multi-million-dollar homes and everything. It sounds really appealing. What would be like one of the main 1 or 2 things that you would tell someone to make sure they have in place, or to maybe be cautious around? Like, what are the challenges?
Wow.
You said the challenges are your team, of course. Anything in the construction side that they would be.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing normal about a log home. The way that it shrinks, the logs they shrink this way. So your wall is actually coming down, which means everything attached to it is coming down, which doesn't really sound like much. You think, oh, well, the house just gets shorter. It's not just that.
It does sound like a lot. I mean, I don't think
your stairs would be sliding. You have to make sure the stairs can slide forward. Otherwise, when the house comes down, everything's going to be off pitch. Your plumbing has to have slip joints in it. Otherwise, your plumbing will all crack. Your windows and doors, when they get installed, have to have a space at the top. You have to also know and be able to anticipate how much shrinkage you're going to get. How green are the logs? What species are you using? And then you leave a space, and you have to trim all that up so it doesn't, look ugly. And then any vertical post does not shrink. So a log home is comprised of all the horizontal perimeter logs, but then all the vertical posts. So those have to be cut short with a thing called a screw jack that's underneath. Now you've got this floating log on a little metal post that has like a bolt around, basically, and you take a giant wrench and you just kind of lower your house every once in a while, and you can hear it when you do that. So you have to go around and lower all of your posts, and you can hear creak, 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 creak. And if you don't do that, daylight will come between all of your logs.
Oh,
That is so funny. I was going to say, yeah, teach
Mhm.
us all how to build a log home right now, and you just
There
did.
you go. Right? Yeah, those were the hardest parts. There's probably, a good other 20 little things, but those
Yeah.
are major structural integral components that you
Yeah, I like
really
that.
have to know.
That's very interesting and so much different than, the most builders, anything that they would have to look out for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. You wouldn't even think of it. Most people don't. We've seen disasters.
What would be one key to making money in that side of the business? If someone wanted to start a business like that, what's something maybe, like, is there money in that side of things, and how can you?
There's two ways to go. It's either luxury high-end or machine-made mass production. So you can't do the round hand-hewn, hand-drawn knives, the custom style, using cedar, like Western red cedar, and hand sanding and staining it like furniture. There's no money in that unless you're in the luxury world.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Or the other way is using a different species and then putting it through machines and doing kind of like Lego logs that interlock, nothing hand hewn.
And so is that why, Muskoka is, for Canadians at least, screams a bit of luxury there. Is that how you end up in Muskoka? Is that kind of, it fit your lifestyle, but also the model of the business?
You know what? It was both. The market in Whistler, for how slow we were building because we were so hands-on, the market just escalated beyond what we could continue to afford to do. Like, by the time we sold a house, we were almost priced out of the market. We couldn't find land that was affordable when we put our margins in there, even with us being hands-on. Like, the value was all in the land, and it was going up like this. And it's surrounded by provincial parks, so you can't. The boundary of Whistler wasn't expand. Excuse me, the water still, it doesn't expand. So you're really just, we saw it like almost like the end coming, basically. There were very few lots. There were bidding wars on them. We put in an offer that was, I think it was like $50,000 over asking price the morning that it was listed. And we were outbid, and we're like, okay, throw in the towel. We were already out of our comfort range. Couldn't afford that. But we were going to make it work somehow. And at that point in time, we weren't getting hired to build. We were just building and selling, building and selling, building and selling. So Muskoka, although it was really obviously quite appealing to, a balance of Whistler, you've got the ski life, you've got the lakeside life, you've got seasonal playgrounds. But for business, it made sense. There's just so much land. It's a whole different market. And Muskoka isn't just the three lakes, Lake Muskoka that you were by with Cravenhurst, and Lake Joe and Lake Rosso. It's the entire area. Like, you'd never run out almost. So, and to be honest, there wasn't anyone doing anything like what we were doing, these high-end log homes. It wasn't prevalent. In fact, we were told we were nuts. We bought a piece of land that was a cliff on Lake Joe, on North Lake Joe. And this is going back to the year 2000. 2001. And, the realtors thought we were off our rocker, quote unquote, we were told. Because first of all, it was a cliff property way up on Lake Joe. There were no homes up there, like hardly any. And it was a log home. And everyone's like, that's not the style here. Everyone wants this sort of, board and batten, or the sort of seaside style, this generic style. And so they thought that would never sell. We started, built quite a huge house. For us, it was the biggest by far, but we wanted to rebrand ourselves because we were only building smaller chalets in Whistler and really wanted to make a statement. You know, you only have one chance to make a first impression. So we went out of the gate, guns a-blazing, built this. It's almost like a castle. It had a big turret, copper top on top of the turret. It had like lightning protection along the house because it was up on this cliff, very grandiose, big sprawling decks and staircases, 99 stone steps down to the water, and a tram that went from the Muskoka room down to the boathouse. And we put it for sale well before it was done. Like the roof wasn't even on, because we could see we were running out of money. Again, we were building a new team in a new area, finding all new resources for things. Things were more expensive than we thought. And you know, anyways, those were the challenges again. And we had our first showing. A fella we spied, we were watching to see this guy. He shows up in a minivan with a Diet Coke in his hand and flip-flops, and he kind of shuffled around the property. I'm like, what? Oh, this guy's not going to buy the Westwood. That was the name of the house. I was like, anyways, and so we were just like, whatever, okay. And then he put in an offer. I think it was pretty close to full price. It was a record to sell at that price point in Muskoka. We set the record, and it took many years before anyone beat that sale price. And that was 4.9, I think it was, back then, which was huge. And he bought it before like any of the finishing was even in. So that was what really catapulted the business there in Muskoka. That set a new level, a new bar, I guess, for luxury homes. And it put log homes in the mix, which previously really wasn't a thing. So that was a huge risk, but it worked.
Very interesting.
Super cool. Man.
Yeah. And it's funny, I found out later, I'm like, so we were talking to the guy because we ended up doing some custom, things for him in the end as we got to know them well. And I'm like, yeah, we totally judged you. I can't believe it. He's like, yeah, I figured so. That's why I brought the nanny's minivan. And, like he did it on purpose. He played himself down so he could get a better price. Yeah. Smart.
Okay.
He knew what he was doing.
Absolutely.
All right.
And
Let's
I learned
get into
never
this.
to judge. Yeah.
You're not in Canada anymore. You're in Costa Rica. Explain how that happens, how that comes about, and what you're doing here. All
right. Well, I've been coming to Costa Rica for probably 20 years, down further south, an area called Nasara. Love Costa Rica, but didn't really explore much of it. How it came to be, I'm really going to thank Trudeau, to be honest. Political changes in Canada had me looking to see, what's going on else in the world? What else is everyone going down this path? Are things getting weird? Is there anywhere that's safe? What does personal security look like? Like security of food, of water, of your home and your real estate. Not worrying about like inflation and of everything basically, and looking to a place that had good medical, good, we have children, so good educational system, and abundancy. So we actually had a list of places that we were considering. Portugal was up there. Thailand was even there, but that came off the list pretty quickly, and Costa Rica. So we decided to come and check it out for a little bit and tour the coast. The Pacific coast was basically the only parameter I had. So all I knew was, okay, Costa Rica is a possibility, and if it's going to be Costa Rica, it's going to be somewhere along the Pacific coast. So somehow ended up, when we first arrived here in Potrero, Surfside, actually. We had a friend here and another friend who had recently been here and said, oh, you should stay at this place called Le Belula Lounge. And so we told our friend about the place. He's like, oh, yeah, I think it's up for sale, actually. And so we went and checked it out, and this is this place here now. And it was, you know, it was great bones, amazing promise, good potential, everything. But I mean, we had just arrived, wanted to go tour. And so we hit the coast, traveled for over a month. I'm going to say almost 2 months, up and down, even a little bit inland, not too far, like driving distance to the beach always. But to be honest, we thought that trip would narrow down where we wanted to settle. We were in love with Costa Rica by this point, and it was happening. And couldn't narrow it down. The more we traveled and explored, the more we fell in love with. It was really, really hard. So you almost can't go wrong in Costa Rica. However, ended up, so we went all the way down south and came all the way back up. And the rainy season down there killed us. It was so much rain. I think it was record setting, actually. We had 78 inches in October. And that's in the Uvita area. And that was just, it was unbearable. Like if you opened up, you know, some tortilla chips, like a small bag even, they would be soggy before you were even finished eating them. It was brutal. Nothing would dry out. Everything was getting moldy. Yeah, you know, it was great for my hair. It go nice and curly and my skin looked fabulous, but everything else was a challenge. And so we ended up back up here, and the rainy season up here was amazing, actually. I loved it. It was so doable. You know, yeah, it rained at like 4 o'clock or whatever every day, but you would have your whole day. You'd be out and just keep an eye on the sky, and you're like, okay, I better start making my way back. The temperature was mild. The humidity was tolerable, like nothing like, you know, the South. So then we narrowed it down to at least this area, and then reconsidered Libelula Lounge, and you know, right place at the right time, I think, for us, and love this place. It's actually not just the property that we love here. We love that we're in a community. We're not just, you know, a house on a hill with a beautiful view, which I mean is amazing, but we have neighbors, like, you know, getting to know Rob, getting to know we know so many people here, and within like a 5-minute walk. I think there's, what is it, 800 and something homes in this just this neighborhood in Surfside. So it's pretty cool, and we're like a hop skip to the water here, so we've got the best of both, in my opinion. It's a good place to raise a family and to have that sort of utopia. You know, you've got your neighborhood, and you go to the local school, and then you've got all, like, they hang out at the beach. Everyone ritually watches the sunset and gets to see each other and socialize. It's great.
Well, again, like, we weren't necessarily looking for somewhere to move until we came here. We were weeks in Hako, weeks in Coco, a couple of other different places, and I wasn't looking at real estate. It was more just, okay, it's nice here. It's good to get away. We need to get away right now. And then we came here, and it was, I mean, I don't know, I haven't been everywhere, but totally different from all those other areas because of all those things that you just mentioned. And the community here is absolutely amazing.
To be honest, we weren't actually looking to buy yet either. We were just going to rent and settle in, you know, an area that we liked and try it on for, you know, a few months, even 6 months, you know, see what was going to happen in Canada, how crazy things were going to get, or see how much we loved it or hated it here. I wasn't really going to jump right in. But a lot like Whistler, it's really expensive to rent here, and it's really expensive to live here. So again, there's, you know, potential, you know, throwing money out in rent or putting it into something that's going to appreciate. It's kind of how we got into real estate here now.
Well, again, and you guys are transforming this place over here. It was nice to begin with, but I think you guys are maximizing the potential that it has. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing here.
Absolutely. So from a real estate perspective, this property consists of 6 residential lots, and the adjacent properties were undeveloped, and one of them was for sale. So we had some creative problem solving and challenges trying to coordinate the purchase of the ones that were adjacent, touching this property. So the two completely next to it, and then the two next to that, which is one was for sale. And so we slowly fandangoed that. That was such a triumph to be able to get all 4 properties. So now we have 10 here and can expand just for scaling reasons. When you have the kind of overhead, like I have no experience in hotel or restaurant management or ownership, but I'm learning fast. And there's a threshold when you have to have a certain number of staff, and in order then to feed that number of staff, you have to have a certain number of rooms to make it profitable, or a restaurant that, turns over a certain number of tables. So the restaurant is our phase 1 priority right now. We're going to get that open soon. I'm not going to put a date to it because every time I do, I get disappointed when I've blown the date.
It's coming up. I mean, you guys have got your menu almost dialed in. We came over a week ago or something like that and tried some of the food you guys are going to have. It was amazing.
Yep. Well, that was fun. Yeah, we had a little tasting experimental menu that night. It was amazing. So we're close. I'm going to say, like, realistically, we could open in probably 2 weeks and just do Friday, Saturdays and soft open and just sort of open it up to the neighborhood at this point, not do any heavy marketing. And then once we get that completely open and dialed, and then I can reassess, the financial situation, then we can expand and add more rooms to try to tip the scales.
So how many rooms do you have right now?
There's behind me, you can see there's a little Tico house. That's a 3-bedroom. And then you can't quite see, but beyond the foliage there's 3 safari tents. These pretty hardcore South Africa, actually, they're from, legit safari tents. They're decadent. They're so beautiful with bathrooms in them. And then there's 4 ranchos. So we're at 10, and then the 3-bedroom house. So we're going to add rooms onto the house, and I can't get rid of, even though it's valuable real estate where those tents are, they're just so charming. I don't think I'm going to do anything there. Maybe I'll add 2 casitas beside the Tico house and then move on to the next property with the development afterwards.
Very cool. A lot going on.
Yeah, it's phased. Yeah, so restaurant first, more rooms second, and we'll be waiting for permits and everything next door for quite some time, but we've got a stellar architectural firm, and I'm really going to just let myself slow down and enjoy the process. So that's phase 3.
And she's really sinking into the Costa Rica life. The other day, I was I'm literally right across the street. So I just look out my window and I see them bringing a horse in.
Yeah, we got a horse. Like, you're in the Wild West here. You really are. And like, it'd be crazy not to embrace that. Like, you just got to feed your soul. This place has so much to offer. And some advice I got when we first moved here is that a lot of people don't make it. They either, if it's a couple, one of the two just doesn't find their way. They don't like it for whatever reason, or one of the children or whatever. And they said, why they think that is because they don't remember the reasons they came here, and they try to recreate their life from where they're from instead of adapting to the life here. My manager even reconfirmed that. He's like, you got to take the chip out of your head that tells you how you think things should be and put in the chip that tells you how things are. And then you'll be able to, function better and not get so frustrated. And, I feel sometimes defeated. I'm like, how could this have taken so long and cost so much? How is it possible? But I mean, it's Costa Rica.
Mm-hmm.
Pura vida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's interesting insight. I think that makes total sense. That people would want to set up, their comfort zone, kind of, right? And it's you got to kind of establish a different comfort zone and get.
Well, you come here, and there is like some luxury here, and there is like the beach and all the fun and the restaurants and everything like that. But once you start to live here, and you realize like you've got to know where to get things. It's not like you're used to, right? You need to ask, hey, where do I get this? And someone will tell you, well, sneak down 2 miles down the road here and you'll find a little shack and you can get that there, like that kind of thing. So when the amenities aren't as easily accessible as people think they are, and I've heard that the threshold, what I've heard, is that it's 2 years, and that most people say, "All right, I think I've had enough. I enjoyed that. Now I'm out." So
I think that'd be the same in many similar sort of destinations, right? That are not like quote unquote home, like as Canada would be, for example. But Rob, you've got what, 3 Are you not? You're at least 2 years.
I'm 2 years, two and a bit.
So how are you feeling?
So you made it through.
I'm good.
I can't
No,
imagine
no,
wanting to leave, to be honest. I
no.
still check my head in the morning. I'm like, I look at Dan and I'm like, are we gonna get tired of this? Do you think? Is this a novelty that's gonna wear off, or like is it gonna change? Is it gonna get worse? Like I'm still in disbelief. Like you
Yeah, I
said, a
guess you
horse.
don't
Like
know
how
until
cool
you
is
know.
that?
Right.
Yeah.
Are those
So-
opportunities like that you've kind of found for yourself there? And like it sounds like a really interesting project in lots of ways, lots of different moving pieces. But are those in abundance there? Similar sort of scenario, like not exactly that, but opportunities of
Absolutely.
similar sort of nature. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of I think it's you have to have cash in pocket when you come here. So this is why I think this happens, because you can't get a mortgage here if you're not a resident. That's just not possible. So everyone here buys with cash unless they have a personal creditor or something, or an investor. And then you're like, okay, well, I can just, it's almost a lateral move from Canada to come here financially, because the prices are, the real estate here is phenomenal. Wish I'd bought sooner is the only thing I can say, but there's still demand. It's still, things are selling. It's crazy. As everything seems to be slowing elsewhere. But anyway, so when you look at, okay, so I can make that lateral moves, just spend all the money on one home and then there I am. Or I can invest in something that makes money. And at the end of the day, I'm like, well, if this even just breaks even and I get to live this lifestyle and have this sort of experience, learning hotel business and restaurant/lounge business. And we want to do a food market and have chickens on the property next door while we're waiting to develop it. And like, how cool is that? I can raise chickens, have my own eggs, eat the chickens, sell the chickens, whatever. Like it's, that's a business. So I think a lot of people opt to buy something where they can build casitas, rent them out, and offset. That's another thing. As a non-resident, which takes time to get residency, you also cannot work. So it depends how you're financially set up, but to have an income that at least facilitates your lifestyle, it seems like a winning choice. So there are a lot of small hotels, like boutique hotels, I would say, and there are a lot for sale right now too.
And they're underused, right? Like the property itself is definitely underused, and a lot of them I've seen. But
What
I just
happens-
wanted to.
Yep, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say what I've noticed a common theme is that when people buy, they buy at the top of their price range, and then the maintenance here is something people don't anticipate. So all of these hotel opportunities that you see, they're so run down. And those are infrastructural issues. Like I am just now going forward aesthetically because everything we had to do to resurrect this place. I won't get into all the gruesome details, but it was pretty nasty. It looked good at a glance for sure, but it needed a lot of work. So that's the common thing. I think people, yeah, sure, they make enough to sustain their lifestyle, but when things go wrong and break, it's ongoing. It's a never-ending maintenance schedule. So that's something that I would definitely advise people to do, is buy well under their budget.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Absolutely.
that's a similar lesson in almost any piece of real estate, but probably just enhanced there, right?
True enough.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was talking about.
I mean,
that
look
today
what
with
happened to
the
everybody who
journalists.
bought, in Canada, let's say 2 years ago, right? Look where they are now. So being smart and thinking about those things ahead of time is always good. But I did want to mention one thing, and that is that we do have some financing options here now for non-residents. We can do up to 70% LTV, and the interest rate's not amazing. It's between 9 and 10%, and it's amortized over 15 years. So it's not a bad option. I've seen some other ones. There are a few others that I know of, but that one is the best. As
Yeah.
far
It's
as
an
the
option.
terms
It's
go.
an option. So that's
Yeah.
a start.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that actually, if you
Um,
were to take a business model off of that for somebody coming here, then you would look for, a house that you could add casitas on, to, sort of subsidize to bring in an income, maybe put yourself
mhm.
at a, well, whatever price point would allow you to actually put 150,000 cash of your own, because I don't think your residency dollar value counts if it's a loan, does it? Is that still considered a personal investment?
I believe so, but I wouldn't want to take my word 100% for it. It's the purchase price and how you allocate the ownership of the. So, like for example, my
You're
wife and
right.
I had to shift shares in the corporation in order for me to have met that. And at the time we bought it was 200.
Nice.
So, and we had some owner financing on our place. So it didn't matter the actual cash amount down. It only mattered the purchase
The
price.
ownership. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, that makes sense
But anyway,
actually.
yeah. So for residency, what you're talking about is you can get residency for investment here of 150 grand now.
Yeah, that's the
USD.
latest. Right.
USD.
Of course, yes, we got to
That's
remind everybody that.
700,000 Canadian dollars.
No, that's pretty good. That's like 100, 150 compared to some other options out there that I've seen.
Yeah,
That's on the lower
absolutely.
end for
Yeah.
sure. That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're
It's
really
difficult to
incentivizing.
find something for that price, but you can.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
If that's the goal. Okay. Lastly, give us a little bit about what motivates you. What gives you your drive or your inspiration every morning?
That security that I told you about, the reason why we, upped and moved. That's it. It's a big deal to have set roots and lived. And, my children had only ever lived in one house. Yes, we had like Muskoka house and then another house in Muskoka, but they had a house in Burlington. That's the same house they were born and raised in. They had that security. So to uproot and leave a new country, it had to really have all of those things. And I remind myself every day what's important here. It's really having, like I was saying about the food market, instead of growing all our own food, which we're actually doing a lot of anyways, that's mostly fruit, but having direct lines to farmers, knowing where your food comes from. And that also includes meats. So knowing your cattle farmer, knowing like the meat that we're going to be selling is all, non-GMO genetics, and it's vaccine free, and it is hormone free, no antibiotics, all of that, and free range, grass fed all the way through its life. Like knowing that and having that trust and security and having these direct supply lines for food and water. We're right now looking into building a water purification system. We've got great water out of the tap, but will we always? I don't know. We get enough rain. Why don't we, learn how to do rainwater harvesting? This is super doable. And if we're going to be wanting to irrigate year round, which, in an area like we're in here, this is almost like Arizona in some respect. It's what is it called? Tropical dry jungle or something like that. It's a little bit different. It is dry. Like we've had no rain since October. It's crazy. So I mean, to be able to feel comfortable irrigating all day, I'd love to have a system that I know I can either drink or use for irrigation that's not municipal water. So that security really, really drives me. All my choices are guided by that, making sure that we have that and not getting caught up in just the real estate, which I tend to do. I kind of put my head down and just turn into sort of type A workaholic, and then realize, put my head up and say, hey, what did I miss? I don't want to miss that. That's why I'm here, and it's important to me.
And I noticed you guys are really focusing a lot on that. Just the whole. I mean, the restaurant, the theme of the restaurant is basically all natural, but bringing in a lot of traditional, I guess, feel
Yeah.
to it as well.
So I wouldn't use the word necessarily traditional. I would go ancestral, go a little deeper even. We're working with a woman from Nicoya, who, I don't know if you know, Nicoya is the blue zone here in Costa Rica, one of 7 in the world, where I think to classify as a blue zone, I think something like 50% of the population of the area needs to live healthy and active lifestyles over 100 years old. That's substantial. So what are they doing? How are they cooking? What kind of grains are they using? And how, like these, so we have these heirloom grains now, and different plants. Whenever she comes, she brings different things. We plant them around here, and she's teaching us from scratch how to make what will be the base of some of our recipes. We're not going to follow through with the traditional finish of these things, but we're going to use them as the foundation. So it's along the lines of let food be thy medicine, and medicine is food. So that is a huge theme. Thank you for reminding me, Rob, for the restaurant. And we're actually not calling it a restaurant, we're calling it a lounge. So it's really designed to be a little getaway where you can, swing on a swing, or, lounge on a sofa while eating, tasting size portions and having some like excellent Prosecco. So curating all of these lifestyle oriented things, but keeping at the forefront that it's good for you. Even the cocktails will be medicinal. We're meeting with the Maleku tribe, one of the oldest indigenous tribes around here. And they're giving us a 3-hour plant medicine tour so that we can extrapolate some knowledge and grow some of the herbs that they show us. And depending on how they taste, work them into the recipes, including the cocktails.
Very cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And there's so much more to talk about. We would love to have you back on at another time.
Thank
Maybe
you.
once.
I'd love to talk more and tell you more about that as
Once
that
it's up and
evolves.
running,
It's
maybe
been fun.
once it's been going a bit, and you have some, I'm sure some lessons that you're going to learn pretty fast.
Oh God, yes.
That'd be
We're
cool.
learning so much
all
so
of
fast.
the development, like they're in the middle of the development right over here of adding, I don't know how, we're adding some rooms right over there. Right now I mean, maybe we can put some pictures in or something like that into the show
Do you want a
notes.
tour?
Sure,
Do you want me to do a little walk around?
Well, it doesn't work for the audio. Most people listen to the audio.
Okay.
But I mean, after we're done recording, you quickly show Sandy or whatever. But
Yeah,
I just
for
wanted
sure.
to say they've like just the way they've changed this since what it was, and just used like made better use of what was here, and the additions that they're doing are incredible. So it's really cool. And I want to thank you again for coming on.
My pleasure. I look forward to doing this again. That'll be great.
And how can people get in touch with you? I'm sure people are going to want to know, where is this? Because I want to come and visit.
I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah. The easiest way I would say is lebelulalounge.com, and the email there will make it to me. Or I can post my own personal email or phone number. I've got a Costa Rica phone number now. I don't actually remember what it is, but I can post that as well.
We can put it in the show notes. All right, and that just for the people who are listening, I'm going to spell it out. It's Libelula, Libelula Lounge.
It means dragonfly in Spanish.
Dragonfly, yeah.
Yep.
Sandy, how can people get in touch with you?
Sandy at freedomreps.com, McKayRealtyNetwork.com, either one, or find me on social media. Pretty easy to find.
And people can reach me at rob@mrbreakthrough.ca. Thanks for listening, watching, everybody. Have a great day.
Thanks.